According to the Quran, the Jinn are among the most enigmatic creations of God, neither angelic nor human, but a third category entirely. Surah 55 verse 15 describes their origin as created from smokeless fire, a poetic image that communicates something both luminous and dangerous, unpredictable and untamed. Unlike angels, who embody obedience, the Jinn possess free will, just like human beings. They can choose to be righteous or rebellious, peaceful or harmful. This complexity is what makes them so fascinating. They exist unseen, living parallel lives and forming communities, yet remain outside the boundaries of human perception. One of the most well-known stories is that of Iblis, a Jinn who rose to a position of great spiritual knowledge but refused a divine command. When instructed to honor Adam, a symbolic gesture acknowledging the dignity of humanity, Iblis instead responded with arrogance, saying he was superior because he was made of fire while Adam was made of clay. His refusal marked the beginning of a great rupture, illustrating how pride and rebellion can corrupt even the most gifted being. Today, belief in Jinn still shapes entire cultures. In North Africa, families speak of invisible presences in empty rooms. In the Middle East, traditional healers perform ruqya rituals, reciting verses to help people dealing with unexplained fear, nightmares, or intrusive thoughts. In Indonesia, some individuals describe sensations during sleep paralysis as encounters with unseen beings, moments where body and consciousness seem disconnected. While science explains these experiences through neurology, the cultural interpretation remains deeply rooted. The sense that the world contains hidden layers encourages contemplation, fear, and respect for the unseen. Some communities rely on spiritual healers, others turn to psychology, yet both perspectives coexist. Whether the Jinn are understood metaphorically, psychologically, or literally, their presence in human imagination remains powerful. They raise questions about our understanding of fear, the mind, and the unseen dimensions of existence. Do you believe that unseen beings with free will could still influence our world today? Tell me in the comments if you've ever heard real-life stories involving Jinn in your region. Before we begin, please like the video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Share this video with your loved ones, because this knowledge can literally change your life. In the Quran, angels are described as beings fashioned from pure light, existing beyond the limitations of human biology. Unlike humans and Jinn, the angels possess no ego, no inner conflict, no rebellious impulse. Their essence is obedience, precision, and balance. They fulfill divine commands with absolute accuracy, whether delivering messages, protecting individuals, recording deeds, or governing aspects of the natural world. The most prominent among them is Jibril, the angel entrusted with carrying revelation. Through him, words became destiny. History shifted when he spoke to the prophets. Angels in the Quran are not symbolic metaphors. They are active presences woven through the narrative of creation and revelation. They react with concern when told about the creation of humanity, asking how a creature capable of causing corruption could be placed on earth. Yet they obey. They teach us humility. Even beings of light questioned but still submitted to wisdom greater than their own. In the modern world, belief in angels continues to influence millions. In times of disaster, earthquakes, fires, wars, people often describe moments when a stranger appeared, helped them, and vanished without a trace. In hospitals, nurses speak of patients clinging to life when surrounded by loved ones, as if unseen hands comfort the soul. In war zones, someone pulls a child from rubble seconds before collapse. Witnesses later say, It was as if he was guided. Whether these stories are coincidences or glimpses of something deeper, they carry a universal message of hope. Across cultures, the idea of guardian beings persists. It shapes behavior in subtle ways. People pause before a major decision, sensing a quiet intuition. They feel comfort during grief, like warmth flowing through a cold moment. These sensations are not proof, but they are emotional realities that transcend geography. They remind us that humans long for guidance, for a light that moves silently through the darkest paths. In a world increasingly controlled by technology and noise, the image of an unseen being devoted solely to goodness feels almost radical. The angels evoke a question. If beings of light exist, what message would they carry to a society overwhelmed by conflict, speed, and distraction? Have you ever felt guided at the perfect moment? Share a moment when someone appeared just when you needed help. Among all mysterious beings mentioned in the Quran, none stir as much debate as the Daba al-Ard, the beast of the earth. In Surah 27, verse 82, it is described as a creature that will emerge at a moment when humanity becomes deeply detached from truth. The verse is brief, enigmatic, and leaves more questions than answers. Scholars throughout centuries have wondered, is it a literal animal? A symbolic figure, a force of truth? The Quran does not provide physical details, leaving open a world of interpretation. Some classical commentaries describe the Daba as a strange creature that speaks with clarity and exposes human insincerity. Others suggest it may represent a natural phenomenon that shakes the world. Modern thinkers add another layer. Perhaps the Daba is symbolic. A reminder that when falsehood spreads unchecked and moral direction collapses, something unexpected will confront humanity with undeniable truth. This ambiguity is what makes this being so mysterious. In today's world, the idea of a creature of truth feels strangely relevant. We live in a time dominated by rapid technological evolution, artificial intelligence, and the power of media. People struggle to distinguish between reality and illusion. Deepfakes blur identities, misinformation shapes opinions, and truth is often overshadowed by what is most sensational. Human communication has become so saturated with conflicting narratives that even undeniable facts face resistance. In this environment, the concept of a force that reveals truth strikes a powerful nerve. Across different communities, environmental disasters and global crises also feel like messages from the earth itself. Fires, floods, droughts, events that force people to confront reality after long periods of denial. Whether symbolic or literal, the idea of something emerging to force humanity to face consequences resonates deeply with the world today. The Daba becomes more than a creature. It represents accountability, awakening, and the moment when illusions fall apart. Its mystery lies not in its form, but in the powerful question it raises. What happens when a society ignores truth for too long? Do you think the creature of the earth is symbolic or literal? What do you think this mysterious being could represent in our modern world? The Quran describes Gog and Magog, Ya'juj wa Ma'juj, as vast and turbulent peoples whose emergence will shake the world. In Surah 1894-98, they appear in the story of Dhul Qarnayn, a figure of immense leadership and wisdom. When he traveled to a distant land, he encountered a community terrorized by these destructive tribes. In response, he built a fortified barrier of iron and molten copper to hold them back. The Quran leaves many details undefined. Who exactly were these people? Where was the barrier located? What did they represent? What is clear is that they symbolize overwhelming chaos, pressure, and disorder. forces that can destabilize entire societies if left unchecked. Gog and Magog reappear in various interpretations, sometimes literal, sometimes symbolic. For some scholars, they represent ancient tribes whose aggressive expansion and violence threatened weaker communities. For others, they embody humanity's darker instincts: greed, aggression, and collective destruction. The Quranic story suggests that when humanity faces a threat too powerful for individual communities to handle, leadership, unity, and collective effort become essential. Dhul Qarnayn's solution was not magic. It was engineering, cooperation, and vision. In the modern world, the idea of forces like Gog and Magog seems eerily familiar. We witness global conflicts that spill across borders, displacing millions of people. We see regions crumble under pressure from war, oppression, and scarcity. We hear stories of massive migrations where people flee violence, searching for safe ground. News reports highlight communities caught between military power, political ambitions, and environmental collapse. Images of chaos that echo ancient fears. The wall becomes symbolic of the barriers countries try to build, physical, political, ideological, to protect themselves from instability. For many, Gog and Magog reflect not just violence, but the fear of losing control. The fear that human greed, conflict, and division could grow beyond containment. When resources become scarce, tensions rise. When misinformation spreads, societies fracture. These modern forces feel like waves that overwhelm truth, unity, and compassion, just as the ancient tribes once overwhelmed isolated civilizations. The story challenges us to think, when civilization faces chaos, what role does leadership play? Can humanity build barriers of wisdom, cooperation, and justice? Or will we allow chaos to rise unchecked? Are Gog and Magog symbolic of human chaos, or a real tribe waiting to emerge? Tell me how you interpret this ancient story in today's world. Among the most profound and solemn figures mentioned in the Quran is Malak al-Maut, the angel of death. The Quran describes him as the one entrusted with taking the soul at its appointed time, neither a moment sooner nor a moment later. His presence represents the most inevitable truth, the crossing between this life and what lies beyond. Death in the Quran is not framed as an accident or a random event. It is a doorway under divine supervision. The angels of death are described as gentle to the righteous and powerful to the unjust, reflecting the inner reality of a person's life when confronted with its end. In Surah 32:11, Malak al-Maut speaks directly. The angel of death who has been given charge of you will take your soul. Then you will be returned to your Lord. This verse carries an immense weight. It reminds humanity that every heartbeat is known, every breath is counted. The angels do not appear in fear, but in fulfillment of a cosmic responsibility. In modern times, the concept of the angel of death continues to echo through human experience. Healthcare workers in hospitals around the world often speak of the remarkable stillness that fills a room moments before a soul departs. They describe last breaths, final smiles, unanswered words, and the peacefulness that sometimes replaces pain. There are stories of elderly patients who seem to wait for a loved one to arrive before letting go, as if guided by an unseen presence. Nurses talk about feeling a shift in the room, a silence that feels different, moments before a monitor falls flat. In war zones and disaster sites, rescuers witness scenes that remind them of life's fragility. In earthquakes, one person survives beneath rubble for days, while another perishes instantly. The randomness feels unbearable, until people remember the religious belief that death is not random at all. This belief brings comfort to families mourning loved ones, helping them navigate grief with acceptance and spiritual grounding. Across cultures, the figure of an angel taking the soul is a powerful symbol. It encourages reflection. Are our lives aligned with our values? Are we living with purpose or drifting through discomfort, anger, and distraction? The angel of death is not meant to frighten, but to awaken the mind to the preciousness of time. In a world obsessed with speed, ambition, and constant noise, the gentle whisper of mortality can realign priorities. It reminds us that every act of kindness matters, every injustice leaves a mark, and every moment is an opportunity to choose meaning over chaos. Have you ever felt a moment of deep silence in the presence of death? Share your thoughts. What do you believe happens at the moment of death? The Quran introduces one of the most fascinating concepts of divine order, the cosmic recording of all existence. In Surah 68, verse 1, it begins with Nun, the pen, and what they inscribe. Here, the pen, Al-Qalam, is not a simple tool, but a symbol of knowledge, authority, and permanence. It is said to have written all destinies, recording human actions, thoughts, and events on the preserved tablet, Al-Law Al-Mahfuz, a celestial record that contains everything that has happened and everything that will happen. The Quran emphasizes that nothing escapes this divine documentation. Even the smallest thought, hidden from others, is known. This mysterious system bridges divine foresight and human free will. Humans are not automatons. They act, choose, and make decisions, but their deeds are ultimately known and preserved. The pen and the tablet remind believers that life is accountable, that nothing is lost, and that even unseen consequences are recorded. Scholars often reflect on the depth of this concept. It connects morality, responsibility, and the spiritual significance of each action in an all-encompassing cosmic framework. In modern life, this metaphor takes on striking resonance. Consider the digital era. Every social media post, financial transaction, and search query is logged, creating an unprecedented trail of human behavior. While technology lacks the moral or spiritual dimensions of the preserved tablet, it mirrors the principle that actions leave traces, some public, some hidden. Similarly, global surveillance, data analytics, and the spread of information remind humanity that nothing exists in complete isolation. Stories abound of people discovering the weight of their actions, a long-forgotten gesture of kindness that changes someone's life, or a careless act that echoes unexpectedly years later. These real-world examples parallel the Quranic principle. Everything counts, and every action has its consequences. The pen teaches reflection and mindfulness, urging humans to consider the permanence of what they do and the moral weight behind each choice. Ultimately, the pen and the tablet invite contemplation. Are we writing our own destiny through choices, or merely following a script already written? The answer may lie somewhere in the balance, reminding us that life is a dialogue between freedom and responsibility. Do you believe your life is already written, or do you write it each day? Comment your thoughts on destiny and free will. Among the most infamous and mysterious beings in the Quran is Iblis, the Jinn who refused to bow to Adam. Unlike angels, who are bound by obedience, Iblis possessed free will, making him capable of choice. His story, recounted in Surah 7:11-18 and Surah 38:71-85, highlights pride and disobedience. When God commanded all beings to honor Adam, Iblis declared that he was superior, created from fire, while Adam was made from clay. This act of defiance marked the beginning of enmity toward humanity, yet also emphasized that even spiritual knowledge cannot guarantee righteousness. Iblis is more than a villain. He represents the inner struggles of humans: pride, ego, temptation, and rebellion. His influence manifests in ways that are subtle yet profound, challenging individuals to confront their desires, impulses, and moral lapses. In a modern context, Iblis can be seen as a metaphor for psychological battles. The lure of selfishness, anger, and manipulation that can disrupt communities, relationships, and even nations. Extremism, cult-like behavior, and the abuse of power are contemporary examples of how the spirit of Iblis appears in real life, exploiting human weaknesses. Yet the story of Iblis also carries a warning and a lesson. Free will is a gift and a responsibility. Just as he chose to rebel, humans can choose humility, compassion, and justice, countering the forces that divide and corrupt. Across cultures, individuals describe moments when the wrong choice felt almost irresistible, or when pride blocked understanding and forgiveness. These echoes of Iblis's defiance remind us that moral vigilance is constant work, and that awareness is the first step toward resisting destructive impulses. In essence, Iblis is both literal and symbolic, a being who challenges humanity from the shadows, and a reflection of the challenges we carry within ourselves. His story continues to resonate because it externalizes the internal conflict that defines the human experience, between ego and humility, rebellion and obedience, darkness and light. Do you see Iblis as a symbol of pride or a literal being? What do you think is humanity's greatest inner enemy? One of the most extraordinary figures in the Quran is Prophet Solomon, Sulaiman, peace be upon him, renowned not only for his wisdom and leadership, but also for his unique ability to communicate with jinn, animals, and even the forces of nature. The Quran describes him in Surah 21, 82-82, and Surah 27, 15-44. as having been granted authority over spirits who carried out tasks beyond human capacity. He could summon armies of Jinn, command the wind, and even transport the throne of the Queen of Sheba across vast distances in the blink of an eye. His power was extraordinary, yet it was always exercised in alignment with divine guidance, demonstrating that true authority requires knowledge, responsibility, and humility. Solomon's story extends beyond miracles. It illustrates leadership and the wise management of resources. He mediated conflicts, established justice, and maintained harmony between humans, jinn, and nature. His relationship with the unseen world highlights a fundamental principle. Those who wield power, whether over people, technology, or natural resources, must act with wisdom and ethics. In the modern context, the story resonates in surprising ways. Leaders today, whether political, corporate, or community-based, face challenges similar to Solomon's, coordinating diverse teams, anticipating consequences, and making decisions that impact many lives. Technology, like Solomon's control over unseen forces, can be a tool for good or harm depending on how it is used. AI systems, global communication networks, and environmental interventions all require responsibility akin to the stewardship Solomon displayed. Solomon's story also inspires personal reflection. What if humans could understand the thoughts and languages of all beings, even animals or jinn? Could empathy and communication reshape our relationships with one another and with the environment? Real-world parallels emerge in stories of animal behavior, environmental conservation, and humanitarian efforts, where observing and listening carefully can prevent disasters and create harmony. Ultimately, Prophet Solomon reminds us that wisdom, ethical leadership, and respect for all creation are the greatest forms of power. Authority without understanding is fragile. Control aligned with moral responsibility creates enduring impact.